Welcome to Rebellion. Now, let's get a couple of things out in the open here. Rebellion basically is a copy of WWE's show of WrestleMania 36. But unlike WrestleMania 36, which was done on a Saturday and a Sunday, you got them doing it 1 week at a time. So this week we get part 1, next week we get part 2. Now, I'm going to make this very clear. And I want to make this really clear to anyone who sees this. Was the show bad? No. And I'll explain all the things when I do the review. But I got to compare this to the one that it pretty much takes the archetype from. They could have done an entire show on the weekend, but they chose to do this on regular Impact television. They knew they weren't going to get that much due to the fact of what's going on with the pandemic. So they decided to follow pretty much the set plan like the WWE did. And I understand why they did it. And I got to tell you this. This was better than WrestleMania 36's first night. The first night was not good. And I know a lot of people said it was great. It was not. I'm sorry. It just wasn't. I gave it a B-, only due to the fact of Edge and Randy Orton. That was the main reason I gave it. Even though the many people didn't like the match, I felt it was a good match due to the fact of how the story was between I'm not trying to get into WWE here, but it is a comparison. And comparing Impact's Rebellion compared to WWE's WrestleMania 36, their first nights compared, this is WWE, this is Rebellion. It's better, period. Now let's get into it. The first thing that made Rebellion better than WrestleMania 36 was they were transparent. They made it very clear. Tessa was not there. Eddie Edwards was not there. They just can't have them there. So Tessa's supposedly somewhere, probably with Daga in Mexico City. They are engaged and she moved down there. So she's there. Eddie is not there. But compared to the WWE, which they here at Impact Wrestling did it correctly. They had an interview with Josh Matthews and Eddie Edwards. They didn't do it with Tessa. My guess that's going to be next week when they do part 2. But part 1 was with Eddie. And they allowed Eddie to explain the reason why he wasn't there. He said, look, I want to be there. It is important for me to be there, but I have a family to take care of. I have a family to worry about. And I don't want to lose my opportunity. And he did try to put over Michael Elgin, and he did put over Tessa Blanchard a bit, but he made it very clear, this is something I have to do. And this shows how better Impact Wrestling is compared to the WWE, and Vince being stupid enough not to let the reality of what's going on happen and try to play it into storylines. Why didn't he say anything about Roman Reigns? He should have, because I've heard the rumors that Roman is not to be mentioned, period. So this was a better way of doing it. Michael Elgin had his interview, and he basically said, I struggled and I worked hard and I am going to get that title. So next week, we don't know how he's going to get it, but because Tessa cannot defend it and she's probably quarantined, they're going to try and do some type of twist of a storyline to make it work. So that makes sense. This was a better showing compared to WWE. Now, the first match, which was... I gotta say this. OVE dealing with ECW originals and a guy from Original Menagerie to Decay in a Crazy Steve. I am glad to see Crazy Steve back. I always thought Crazy Steve was very interesting character. I loved Crazy Steve when he worked with Abyss and he worked with Rosemary. Was the match good? It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad match. I'm telling you right now, it was not a bad match. It wasn't. But I kind of wish that Rosemary or Su Yung had came out to do something with Crazy Steve, because Crazy Steve is a face right now, and he won with the Rhino and Tommy Dreamer. And I gotta admit, Tommy Dreamer trying to do a nip up was funny. It was funny. They weren't playing to a crowd. They were playing to each other. And this is generally what happened with the show, which was better than what they do in WWE. Like, they ignore that there's no fans there and everyone there just acts like they normally do. Here, generally speaking, they still kind of play to the camera, which is understandable. They got to play to the camera while the situation's going on. But they're not acting like the WWE wrestlers who basically been told act like nothing is different. Most of them act like nothing is different, like they got people who are in the crowd when there is none. So they were direct about it and they played towards each other. And I had no problem with Crazy Steve and everybody winning. I would have liked to see Crazy Steve, who basically said he's back. Why couldn't Rosemary come out? Why couldn't Su Yung come out? I understand they probably weren't available. I understand. If they were available, that was a lost opportunity. But if they weren't, it's understandable. But I would have liked to see Su Yung come out. I would have liked to see Susie come out. I would have liked to see Rosemary come out. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Next, we had the triple threat, which made no damn sense. I'm sorry. You got the Rascals versus XXXL of... Well, I really like the AC Romero. I do. I like him a lot. I'm still not totally sold on Larry D. Doesn't mean I don't like him. I'm just not sold on him enough. But I like AC Romero. There's just something about AC I like. Then you got Falaba and TJ Perkins. But here's the thing that made no freaking sense. Wasn't a bad match. Seeing Falaba be the smallest guy between AC Romero and Larry D was funny. And he's not the smallest one there. But he got his ass whooped by two bigger guys than him and got splatted multiple times. That was nice to see. But why would you let the Rascals win? I believe I have an image of them there in my face. Why wouldn't you let Falaba and TJP win when you already had a match last time and they won? Why? Made no sense. And then if you want to do something to really change it up, you could have Triple XL destroy everyone and then have them go up against the North and scare the living pants off of them. Now, they had their, not interview, but pretty much their video package and their promo, which was good. I was fine with it. Seeing that they're going to let some people back in Canada because they are in lockdown. They can't leave the country, technically speaking. And they are going to be doing something with their titles because they're not giving them up. But why couldn't you let AC Romero or Larry D win? Why wasn't Falaba and TJP allowed to win? Why would you again let the Rascals of Wiz and Desmond Xavier win when they never win? They have gone up against whoever held those titles multiple times. Look, the North, it's been 2 or 3 times already. And I don't expect them to win. If they do win, it's a joke. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Now, you had Rich Swann in an interview with Willie Mack. It is finally time for Willie Mack to get his shot at the X Division title. And Willie, feeling a little doubtful of himself, feeling kind of sad, saying, look, are you sure about this with the X Division? He's saying this to Rich. He said, Rich, are you sure about this? And Rich is saying, no. This is your time. When I had the X Division and you were with me when we were in the tag division, you never gave me flack. You were always there for me. It is your time. I want you to win and we're going to party, baby. You can see them in my face saying that. I felt this was the wisest thing to do. I liked it. It was good. It helped D. Willie Mack. And then the match was the second best match of the night. Now I could say I can say it's the best match of the night for the men in an actual match. But it's the second best match of the night for me personally. It was. So in the end, you got Willie Mack winning, but the reason it became the second best match of the night, not the main best match of the night, is because there was no one outside. And this was the main issue for me when it came to Rebellion. But, look guys, I'm glad Willie finally got the X Division title. He deserves it. But without a crowd there, it feels empty. That was a major issue. Yeah, Rick Swann came down. Rick Swann was with him, which Rick Swann gave him a hug. But in the end, it felt so empty that it pretty much became second best of the night. Just me, you guys tell me below. Now, Kylie Rae versus Kiera Hogan. Now, I got something to say about Kiera, but I'll leave that for the end of this. Was the video package building them up? Good. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Kylie Rae is pretty good. The build-up for her wasn't that bad. When it came to Kiera Hogan, the same thing. They built her up pretty good. They made her look good. And the match itself, I gotta say this. This was a damn good match between the two. I know not everyone's going to enjoy Kylie Rae dealing with Kiera Hogan because they'll probably think Kiera's not that great of a wrestler. I actually think Kiera has improved quite a lot as a wrestler, particularly when she became a heel. And this was the best match for me personally. And I know that's saying a lot. I'm sure everyone's going to say that. That's saying a lot. You saying that Kylie Rae's match with Kiera Hogan was that damn good, it was the best for you? Well, yes, it was. It wasn't that it was telling a very great story. That they didn't have time to build a story with this situation, guys. Look, they probably would have stretched this out, booked it properly, and then maybe at a pay-per-view-esque show, they would have had this as a better match. But we got what we got. So I was looking at it by the standpoint of how well Kiera Hogan worked with Kylie Rae. And they both worked very well. There was not that many botches, if there were any. It was very few little botches. Kiera Hogan looked good. Kylie Rae looked good. In the end, Kylie Rae won. But here's the thing for me personally. I love me Kiera Hogan. She's a good heel. She's not bad. She was okay's face, but she's a better heel. And now I do believe it's time for her to leave. And I know some people are going to say, what? You want Kiera Hogan to leave Impact? Are you crazy? Yes. Because technically speaking, there's nothing more for her to do. Look, she had a storyline with Tessa Blanchard. She had a storyline to a certain extent with Taya Valkyrie. She had a storyline with Allie. She had a storyline mixed with Allie and Su Yung and Rosemary. Where did it get her? Did it get her a title? No. The most she got close to that title was with Jordynne Grace to a certain extent. And even then it was stretched. And that wasn't during the time when Jordynne Grace even had the title. It just feels like it's her time to leave. And I want her to go to either, and I think NWA might be the best place for her to go. But AEW will probably give her even more opportunities because there's not that many women her size with her character and the ability to be able to wrestle pretty damn good. She has the ability to talk, and I do believe that would help AEW a lot. But knowing how AEW is, I would rather see her go to NWA. At least then, maybe she would have a better shot. But that's just me, you guys tell me below. Now, it is time for the end of the match, end of the show, end of everything. I didn't really like it. Not because it was bad, but just it made no sense for me personally. And that is Shamrock versus Sammy and a non-sanctioned match. Now, it was some pretty fast pace. Admittedly, I was kind of divided at the time I was watching this because a cousin of mine had called me up to check on something. She wanted to ask me a couple of questions, and I was legitimately, what images you got was the images I was taking as I was on my cell phone, basically talking with her and trying to see if I can keep my attention on both. So if the images don't look good, I'm sorry. But when it comes down to it, was this a bad match? No. In fact, the cinematics in this match were better than the cinematics for the Undertaker versus AJ Styles match. If anybody says that match was gold, I'm sorry, you're wrong. Because the camera work for that match was so bad, it was a joke. The camera work was so bad you couldn't see Undertaker beating the crap out of AJ Styles, beating the crap out of Gallows, beating the crap out of Anderson, or those extras there. You could barely see them because they wanted to do the zoom in and out. In this situation, they did do zooms in and out, but not as frequent. They made sure they did at least give you an opportunity to see what was going on around you, see who was there, see OVE trying to help out Sammy, and then Sammy whooping their ass because he didn't want them to interfere. And in the end, Sammy getting his butt whooped by Shamrock. By an ankle lock, not a choke. Yeah, Sammy was beaten up pretty good and he was in an ankle lock, but you're telling me that Sammy Callahan, the guy who's a real hardcore wrestler, would pass out because he was in an ankle lock? I'm sorry. I don't buy it. Now, you can still do it because he did get beat down pretty good throughout the match, but I didn't buy it. You know why I didn't buy it? Because this match made no sense to me, and it's simple. You're talking about Sammy Callahan, who disappeared for almost 2 months to 3 months. He comes back. Instead of trying to take out OVE, take out Eddie Edwards, then go after Tessa Blanchard, or better yet, he takes out OVE, and if Rich Swann was back, he'd take out Rich Swann, then he'd take out Eddie Edwards, and then he goes back to Tessa. You just made us go straight into Shamrock, which made no sense. And worse yet, Shamrock wins instead of Sammy winning, who he should be winning, because Shamrock doesn't need the accolade of beating a Sammy Callahan. Sammy Callahan, if you're going to say needs an accolade or a rub, should have whooped the ass of a Shamrock. He shouldn't have to pass out. So when it came down to it, I didn't have any interest at all in this match. This match made no sense to me. But was it constructed well? Yes, it was. But the ending was wrong. So I'm going to say this. Was this show better than WrestleMania 36? Yes, it was. They let us know what the full situation was with the wrestlers. Unlike with Roman Reigns, who clearly has been silenced. Roman not being there and saying, I am not going to do this, I'm going home. Vince has now gave an order that Roman's name not to be stated when the reason Roman left. Yes, Roman did this to motivate the other wrestlers in the locker room. That's obvious. There have been people who have been verbally stating this is wrong. It's dangerous for us to be here. We have families to care about. And Vince, who now has backtracked stating, we're going to go live. And then he backtracked saying, no, we'll do Tate. When it comes down to it, Roman Reigns did a good thing. He looked out for his health because he has an immunity deficiency. Then he didn't want to deal with this because he knew this was wrong, that the locker room should not be working under these conditions. They should be home or they should be doing taped shows, not live shows. So he left. When it comes to Impact, they addressed it. When it comes to Eddie, they address it. I'm sure next week, when it comes to Tessa, they're going to address it. When it comes to Michael Elgin, they addressed that as well. They made sure that the wrestlers didn't try to make believe there wasn't anybody there. They acted like there was no one there and they were working off of each other. Admittedly, it could have been better if there was some wrestlers that were outside. But if this was done during the time when you can't have more than 20 or 10 to 20 people, that's understandable that Impact could not do it, depending on where they are. Because if I remember correctly, they're in Tennessee, I believe, Nashville, Tennessee, or are they in Florida? I can't remember where the studio that they work out of is. Or wait, are they still in Las Vegas? I can't remember where they are right now, but there are restrictions in different states how many people can be in one area. So I understand if they could not have that many people out there. But let's be honest here. The show should have had somebody on the outside, people that would cheer, people that would boo, like AEW. AEW is doing it right under the circumstances. But if they could not do it because by the time they finally started recording that they were told they could not, that is understandable. But this is just me. You guys tell me below. Have a good day. Have a good night. And watch my AEW review tomorrow. Peace.